Hey, longtime listeners, it's your old buddy Shades here, and I want to tell you about the brand new Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch Kids Club for adults who are basically still kids at heart. Okay, let me tell you about this. Do you remember tuning in every Saturday morning to your local Fox or WNAC affiliate? Mine was Fox 64. And I tuned in every Saturday morning with glee. Saturday morning cartoons were a source of existential joy for me. And they upped their game with the WNAC 64 Kids Club. I remember mailing in, getting my welcome kit. I got an incredibly well-made gold-plated holographic membership card that's more robust than some of my current adult credit cards. I still have it. Got a decoder ring. Didn't decode anything. Trading cards for my favorite cartoons, and monthly mailers that dovetailed with the branded interactive content that aired during the commercial breaks. Genius. So after 2 years, we thought it was about time to create that experience for our very own and start our Geeking Out Kids Club. We've got a whole bunch of swag to share with you when you support the show over at www.patreon.com/shadesansketch. At this level, a 3-month commitment will mail you your very own Geeking Out Kids Club member pack. Guys, you're going to get a unique 8x11 poster. You're going to get trading cards. You're going to get a membership card. And quite frankly, Sketch really outdid himself on the design for this one. Think Blockbuster meets Sequest. So head on over to patreon.com/shadesansketch. Guys, we're a fan-supported show, and you're helping us keep the lights on in the GoCo, and we want to go the extra mile for you. So one more time, that's patreon.com/shadesansketch. Head on over and get your very own Geeking Out Kids Club member pack today. Guys, don't wait too long because supplies are limited.
Oh, salutations, traveler. I'm Sketch.
And I'm Shades.
And this is
Geeking Out with Shades and Sketch.
Welcome back, longtime listeners. Welcome back, Shades.
Welcome back, Sketch.
Guys, every time you join us in our GoCo, our Geeking Out Command Outpost, you join us in a different corner of the big geek multiverse. This week, Shades and I, you're gonna yell at us because we're not social distancing as well, because we are at an eating establishment.
We are, which is amazingly open.
But it's because we've skipped dimensions.
Yes.
We are not in our current dimension. Little dicey out there right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we are just we're relaxing our haunches down here at the old
Manticore Tavern.
Yeah, newly reopened.
Yes.
Newly redesigned.
I wouldn't say renovated.
I wouldn't say renovated. What would be the opposite of renovated? It's
I don't know.
It's gone backwards, but in a good way.
In a good way.
Vintage, shall we say?
Geek chic.
Geek chic. I like that. For this world, it's vintage, and we're just we're nibbling on some Griffin nuggets, and
slightly charred but delicious.
Slightly charred but delicious. Not gonna send it back again for being too cold. We learned our lesson. We learned our lesson. So guys, if we are at the Manticore's Tavern nibbling on some Griffin nuggets, that must mean we're talking about Onward.
Onward.
Disney Pixar's Onward. I was going to say kind of direct to digital, but only because of circumstances.
Only because of circumstances.
Because of circumstances. But before we get into the Shades, do we have a theme song this week?
I believe we do, Sketch. It's an oldie but a goodie.
Oh, let's tune it up.
It's D&D. Fighting with the legends of yore.
It's D&D. Never kissed a lady before.
Nope. Woo!
Perfect. D&D. Legends of
Fitting.
Yore, quests of yore. It's all tied together.
Did I ever tell you Elise got to work with Mark Tyke?
No? Oh, wait. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. It wasn't recently. It was
No,
a couple years
it was a
ago.
while ago. Yeah. It's a good guy.
I remember that. So, guys, we are talking Onward in this episode of GoCo, of Geeking Out in this
in the GoCo
corner of the GoCo.
Yes,
as you were, but yeah, kind of a it's a strange time out there right now, and can't really take in the movies that we're used to taking in. So luckily Disney, threw us this nice bone and
nice
released
early digital release.
Yeah. Other companies have kind of followed suit with some other properties, but mostly everyone else is pushing stuff back.
Yeah. Yep. So good on Disney with this one.
Yeah, good job. And it was certainly a bit of a way to recoup because it did officially release in theaters for a couple of weeks.
It did. I think it was in theaters for about a full week.
There you go.
It came out on March 3rd.
And that is
shut down on the 16th.
Just a bummer.
Yeah.
So I would imagine, I'm going to ask this question of you, Shades, but I imagine it's going to be pretty light. Shades, what is your history with Disney's Onward?
Oh, my history. Well, Sketch, I'm glad you asked. I watched this. Day of recording is Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So I watched this yesterday.
Is it Tuesday? Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Time has no meaning. It's all
no meaning.
Wobbly.
It has no meaning. It's like living in the GoCo permanently.
24/7. Yeah. It just all becomes disorienting.
Yeah.
Started it on Sunday. Fell asleep. Finished it on Monday before my rental ran out.
Mm-hmm.
That was it worked out.
Perfect.
And I remember them publicizing it and going, "Oh, is this a Smurf movie?"
There's definitely a Smurf tone to it.
Yeah, when they did the first trailer.
Visual. I'd say we should do Smurf sometimes, but I have no interest to do those Smurf movies.
I would rather do the Smurf cartoon from the 80s.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Before I did the Smurf movies.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a Smurf vehicle, not a Smurf vehicle.
Not a Smurf vehicle.
And I don't know. Nothing in it was like, oh, I gotta see Onward.
Mm-hmm.
I never had that reaction. And enjoyed it.
And there you go. That brings us to
history.
Today.
Sketch, what's your history with Onward?
I did want to see it. When I first saw it, I thought it was a neat premise, and I won't say Pixar never leads us wrong, but it's got a good record.
Yeah,
it's got a good, strong record of successful movies. So
I would agree with that.
I'm typically always down for a Pixar movie. I was excited that it was Tom Holland and Chris Pratt. I was down for that, and just kind of the premise of this fantasy world melded with our modern day world had me excited. So when it came out, I was all ready to go until the proverbial shit hit the fan. And so when they announced they were going to release it digitally, I was like, oh, sweet. Because I still have Disney Plus and going to be keeping the Disney Plus because Doodle is addicted to Mickey Magic Clubhouse or whatever it's called.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Just addicted. And when we need a little something to placate him, that's the go-to.
Mickey's Magic Clubhouse.
Yeah, something like that.
Cool.
Oh, Toodles. They say that every episode. 3 or 4 times an episode.
That might have it. Something
So yeah, then I watched it with the missus last week at some point. And then today, in preparation for you and I getting together in the GoCo at the tavern, I put it on again while I was beginning the art for this episode. This very episode.
Very cool.
And that's my history. I have a subsection B to my question for you, Shades.
Okay.
What is your history with D&D?
Okay. My history with D&D. I came to it late.
Yep.
enjoyed it
Mhm.
when I came to it.
Mhm.
I think I've only played ever like a half dozen campaigns,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
campaigns can last
Oh
weeks.
yeah. Oh for sure.
I would, yeah. So I did eventually come to D&D, but not until after college.
Mm.
Um, and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a follow up question for you, Sketch. But
Sure.
how about your history with D&D?
I have no history with D&D other than I would really like to play D&D.
I would also really like to play D&D.
Yeah, I just don't really have a group. It's not a solo game. I
No,
don't know if you've
no.
noticed that. So I've always been aware of it. I've just never had the opportunity to play it.
Longtime listeners, if you're a DM, we want to play Dungeons and Dragons with you.
Yeah, we really do. I am going to be playing, I believe, starting this summer, a board game that is like a D&D light called Gloomhaven. We're
Okay.
starting a campaign of that this summer. I'll keep us up to date on midstreams on how that's going. That'll be like my first foray really into the actual play of it. I think I understand it well enough just by seeing it in media.
I was a hunter with a bear familiar.
Mhm.
My bear was named Armor Bear,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that was fun.
I'm surprised you didn't have a pig.
We did not have a pig piece. I had a bear.
That's a
And
bummer.
I also he was like a dire bear. I could ride him into battle.
Oh, sure.
He's
Sure.
a big, powerful
If you're going to
bear.
get a bear,
Yeah,
you
it's
better
gotta
be
a
riding
dire
that bear.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's what Putin's been teaching us for years.
Yeah.
You had a backup question? Another question for me?
Yeah. Sketch. What is your history with Magic the Gathering?
Oh, Magic the Gathering. I've played it a handful of times. I have one friend who is a closeted Magic the Gathering player. He lets very few people, a very small circle of people, know that he plays. And I think that has even that window has closed. I don't think he's even playing anymore. But I have played Magic the Gathering a handful of times with him.
What kind of deck do you use?
He gave me a basic starter deck to teach me the game.
Oh, okay. Was it a water deck?
That sounds familiar.
Okay, cool.
How about you?
I got heavily right about the same time I started playing D&D. I started playing Magic the Gathering.
Mhm.
I have a pretty sick life gain white deck with creatures, and
See, that's difficult for me because I don't see color.
it's a pretty crazy deck that I can still play people with and win, even though I haven't acquired new cards since 2010.
Wow.
I got very into it.
Does Magic do that thing where they retire cards because they no longer
Yes.
work in them? Yeah.
Yeah, they retire cards. I think they put out one new set a year and then boosters every quarter.
Gotcha.
And then they retire cards every year. But
Cool.
now they also do something called Legacy, which is that you can use your old cards in your old decks.
Sure. I get it.
And it's kind of they've started experimenting with like double-sided cards and like combining things. And I am not current on Magic the Gathering.
You're a purist. You're a purist.
I learned the game. I had fun with it, and then the game changed a lot, and I didn't have fun with it anymore.
That always gets frustrating.
Yeah.
When you and this isn't just for Magic the Gathering, but for
it's for everything
out there. When you change the core concept of something enough to get new people in, but you leave the old ones behind, that's just frustrating.
It's
frustrating.
It is.
Yeah. So, and I guess back to Onward, though. Back to Onward. Shades, do you have a history, not of you and not of me, but of the movie itself?
Yes, I do, Sketch. Onward was announced at D23 in July of 2017 as a quote-unquote suburban fantasy world film. Onward was inspired by the death of director Dan Scanlon's father when he and his brother were very young, and the story came into development after Scanlon heard a voice recording of his dad. In December of 2018, the film was revealed and a minor script rewrite was done in early 2019. VO for the film was not conducted until December of 2019, which seems incredibly late, with the majority of the actors recording their lines separately, though Tom Holland and Christopher Pratt did end up recording some of their lines together because they are good friends and enjoy hanging out in real life.
Oh, Star-Lord and Spider-Man.
Yes. And I wonder if that's some of the issue I had with this film.
Oh,
Well, I'm
spoiler
sure
alert.
we'll get into that.
Okay. All right. Brief synopsis. Do you have a brief synopsis?
Yeah, I
don't have
do.
a brief synopsis. Oh,
I have a
perfect.
brief synopsis. I
Perfect.
came prepared today. In a world inhabited by mythical creatures, magic was once commonplace, though difficult to master. So thanks to modern conveniences and technology, who needs magic? Great premise. Magic the Gathering meets D&D, and they're all derivative forms of real history set against Weekend at Bernie's.
There you go.
That's Onward.
Perfect. That's Onward. All important internet scores.
IMDb gave Onward a 7.5.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes critic score is an 88, fan score 95. 88% of Google reviewers liked Onward, and I gave Onward an 80%.
All right. There you go.
Felt
Very
like
good.
it was a movie from the 80s and deserved to thus
Ooh,
be.
you fall in my 80s rule?
I did.
Yeah. You don't always.
I don't always.
But in this case, you are. I did a 90. I gave
look at
Onward
that.
a 90. I
10
thought it
points
was
apart.
a very good movie, but not Pixar's best, but
Yeah.
certainly not their worst. And as far as Pixar goes, I mean, it's tough when you compare all Pixar movies together. Compared to other like kids movies, it's quite good.
You know, you asked me about Pixar movies and something that we'll be doing over on the Patreon, and then I went and looked and how many Pixar movies I haven't seen, and there's a lot.
Well, I remember looking not long ago at how many Pixar movies there are, and there are far more than I.
That's what there are far more Pixar movies than I recall.
Although I have seen the majority of them. There's only one or two that I have not seen.
Ooh, good for you, Sketch. I tapped out somewhere like there are way more Toy Stories than I thought there were.
Yeah, they just did the fourth one. It's the only Toy Story movie I haven't seen. Is Toy Story 4. I haven't seen Coco yet, although I want to see Coco. I didn't see Finding Dory. I haven't seen a lot of the sequels. My problem with Toy Story 4 is I thought Toy Story 3 wrapped it all up so nicely.
Didn't see Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 was good.
Wait, is that the one where Andy's like in college?
Yes.
Oh, I did see it.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
Yeah,
did it come out like 15 years ago?
Spoiler alert for Toy Story 3. Andy gives up the toys.
Yeah.
At the end to the little girl.
I did see that.
That came out semi-recently. I would say within the last 5 to 7 years.
Well, I mean, the big thing that I'm just shocked with is how quickly they can crank these movies out now.
It used to take a lot longer.
It was announced in 2017 and it came out in 2020.
Yeah,
and the enough of the movie was done that they could do the VO work in December.
Yeah,
that's fast. Two years.
Yeah, for one of these.
I remember Toy Story took like 10 years to animate.
A long
the very
time.
First one.
Yeah.
Sketch. How much do you think Onward cost to make?
Oh God, oh boy, I hate these.
I love these.
$125,000.
Do you want to revise that?
$125 million.
Okay.
Or somewhere in between.
Disney no longer reveals how much their movies cost, but
they don't have to.
They don't have to. It is estimated to have cost between $175 and $200 million. So basically, the amount of Justice League.
Oh,
or I guess Justice League was closer to 300, but like as much as an Avenger movie, it cost.
Now, do you have the stats on what it made? Because I mean,
I do.
Okay,
I do. How much do you think it made, Sketch?
And it was out for only like a week. There's
and
no way.
also digital streaming, Amazon Cinema.
Um, $3 million.
Oh, not that bad. 103.2 million.
I was only off by $100 million.
Which is pretty good considering it was only in theaters for a week.
Yeah, honest to goodness.
It's done a lot in streaming.
Because I was also thinking, like, that week that they were in movies, even though the movie theaters weren't shut down yet, a lot of people were already starting to shy away.
Yeah, not going to the movies.
Yeah.
But it did pretty well for itself.
That is surprisingly well for the circumstances.
Yeah.
Circumstances.
Sketch, you want to start with I think that brings us to rants and raves.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the premise of the movie, the world of the movie before we get into that, or you just want to dive right in?
No, let's just dive right in because some of the premise parts for me are raves and some of them are raves.
Right. Sure.
So
you want to start with raves?
Yeah, let's start with raves.
Cool.
You take one.
The premise, I was all in for this. It would appear that this was a movie that was tailor-made for me.
Mm-hmm.
With Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons and positing a world in which it's all real. 100%. And we just like over time arrived at all of these just derivative forms of faux history. It's if all of our favorite like movies based in mysticism were real. I love that. It's just so cool. And then set that against like your suburban everyday mundane. I thought it was such like a wonderful message, particularly for the world that we're living in right now. The very fast paced world juxtaposed against all of our hobbies and pursuits, and now looking around and all we have are our hobbies, and looking at people doing things that are like bygone era, playing like lawn golf or hammocks in their backyard and raking leaves and all of like the slow paced things that we kind of think of as yesteryear. I thought this was like a really cool concept and message.
Yeah, no, I agree. I really liked the premise. I'm a sucker for like mythology, and this is definitely more fantasy than mythology, but it still has that kind of rooted in history, bringing it back. So many have forgotten it, and it's held on by just a few couple people, but it lives on as a game.
Right.
And spoiler alert, that's kind of the knowledge of the game is what saves the day. It had aspects that were reminiscent of like what was the movie that we did about a year ago with Easter eggs? Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Yeah.
Like the knowledge of the game and knowledge of how these things work is what leads our real world, in quotes there, adventurers to their final goal. I really liked that. I also really liked the catalyst of the whole story. What got everything going was this really kind of gut wrenching, like real world problem of these two boys going through adolescence without their father, and I just thought they handled it really well, like the loss of their dad, and not focusing. I mean, they peppered in enough about the loss of their dad that you knew it was a traumatic event, and you knew it was like he wasn't like eaten by a dragon or something that you would, as an audience member, would just be like, oh, ha 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 ha. It was like really punch to the gut, kind of like Up was, like really let's just pump these brakes and grind everything to a halt.
Right.
But then it didn't focus on that. It focused on the two boys overcoming it.
Right.
Or not overcoming it, but growing up regardless and growing up through it. And I don't know. And then the very end message with the two boys, it got me. It got me. So mixing together the premise of this fantasy world and then that kind of message that is so just integral to real world, it was really nice. I really liked it. Yeah, a good marrying.
Strong agree.
Yeah.
Sketch, that was my rave. Do you want to take one?
Yeah, I will say the entire final act of the movie, in a similar way that Treasure Planet did that for me. As soon as the boys kind of conclude their quest and pop up, and they're did we say spoilers for Onward? Spoilers for Onward. And they pop up and they're in front of the school. Everything from when they pop out of that manhole cover to the end of the movie, I was like
all in for
geeking out. I was all in for when
Chekhov's ancient temple fountain thing.
Sure. And when the mom and the manticore show up and start kicking ass, well, that's when Ian and Barley have kind of their reconciliation, because Ian figures out that what he's been looking for has been there all along.
Right.
When Ian does like the sacrifice, and it's not a classic movie sacrifice, but this entire movie has hinged on that. Ian wants so desperately to meet his father for the first time.
Right.
And when at the end, when push comes to shove, when all the chips are down, he says to Barley, "You go say goodbye and tell him I said hello." Like, for me, that was like, Ian is a fucking man now. That's where he grew up, in that moment.
Guinevere on the highway?
That was like, from the beginning of this movie to the end of this movie, he went through like all of adolescence.
Right.
Rapid fire.
Right.
I wrote down in my notes, like right after the Guinevere, when he's running from the cops, I think it was, I was like, oh, I fucking love Guinevere. And then right after that, she is not long for this world.
She's not long for this world.
Yeah. Oh, and the way he used all the magic that he had learned throughout the movie in that final scene with the dragon was really awesome to me.
Hold on one second.
I see it. I see it there.
Hey, LTLs, it's Shades here, and I just want to remind you that our sponsor this week, just like every week, is you, our longtime listeners. And you can become a sponsor of the show by heading over to patreon.com/shadesansketch, where you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. But right now, we are running our very new, very special Geeking Out Kids Club for adults who are basically still kids at heart. And you can go over to patreon.com/shadesansketch and sign up at that tier today. Guys, we thank you so much for helping us keep the lights on in the GoCo. Now, back to this week's episode. Okay.
Hello. Oh, hello. Oh, this meeting is upgraded.
Yes.
Unlimited minutes.
We can broadcast forever, Sketch.
Awesome.
That's a strong agree. And I for me, that's when the movie really I started that's when it hooked me, and I'm almost wondering if that's the part of the movie that Pratt and Holland recorded together, because I felt like right from the time that they drove off road in Guinevere, their chemistry in connecting with each other was much better. The whole movie up until that point felt very disconnected to me. In the way it felt like just people reading lines. And then at that point in the movie, following the ravens and, trying to figure out following each clue and the ravens and their whole exchange after that felt very real. Like, I wonder if those are the parts of the movie that they recorded together.
Yeah. And I have more to say about that, but not in this section, if you get my meaning.
Yeah.
I
would agree. I would agree with you that the way they used, where it all came into fruition, where the sacrifice really of the movie is him losing the wizard staff, but then using his magic to make a new one. And that part of the movie was really well done. Sketch. Can I take another one?
Of course.
The Manticore and the mom story.
Yeah.
Octavia Spencer and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Wow. So good. Like, they had natural chemistry from go, from the time the mom shows up, and their whole quest. I wanted more of that. Their stories were so interesting. And personally, I thought, the better story that they were telling was, you have this like mythical beast who's a legendary adventurer who's given up adventuring to run a restaurant, like a Chuck E. Cheese TGI Fridays restaurant.
Yeah.
Like rediscovering herself and the mom who Barley has told her whole, like, you're a warrior, mom. Like, you're a warrior. Like, you're a legendary warrior. Like, yeah. Like, I'm a warrior.
I am a
warrior. Like that, their stories were so much more interesting to me. And maybe it's just the fact now that that's the point in life that I'm at. I don't know. I just found their chemistry and their dynamic and their story and their journey so much more. There's just more gravitas to it.
I loved the mom. Absolutely adored her. I even love that she has a payoff at the end because when she's climbing up the dragon, it's the jazzercise routine from the beginning of the movie.
Exactly. Chekhov's jazzercise routine.
And I love that she never questions what's going on. She at no point thinks, well, this can't be true. The boys can't be doing that. My late husband couldn't have been dabbling with magic. Like she is supportive all the way through from start to finish. And she is a great character in that she is nurturing and motherly to these boys and a total badass. Yeah. Like she is their melee fighter at the end of the movie. Yep. And
you think it's going to be the Manicore, but it's not.
And you believe it. You believe that she is a mighty warrior. Yep. And I just love the mom. And yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I love anyway. But when I heard she was in this movie, I was excited. And then when she had as much screen time as she did, I was extra excited. Yeah. Yeah. May I?
Oh, please.
May I?
Yes.
And this can kind of be said of all Pixar movies, but the level of detail in this movie with like the little things that they spread in. So I just wrote down some of my favorite things.
Okay.
Like I love that Colt, the boyfriend, he drives a Bronco.
Right. Yeah.
Love that. I loved the bell, the school bell in the roar of the dragon.
Yes.
Such a small little touch that was like extra menacing to me. Like really loved that. And then my God, the puns. I loved all the puns, and I have written down some of my favorites. May I share with you some of my favorite puns?
Please do.
Okay. So there are Trollex watches. There, the two soda brands I caught were Mountain Doom and Cloak and Cola. The video game at the beginning of the movie, Prance Revolution. Satorade instead of Gatorade. Get it?
Yep.
The Burgershire, the burger place that he goes to, serves second breakfast now. And we did not get Pizza Planet in this movie because
we did not get Pizza Planet.
We got Pizza Realm in this movie. Right. And oh God, they have fun just peppering in these little things and background pieces all over the place.
Right.
Like in the gas station and in the like just the shots of the town.
Right.
Oh, they didn't need to do that.
They did not.
Pixar does. They like to just add those little things.
But I did not. It was fantastic, but I did not. I noted it in the midstream that I said I would look for it. I did not see the Pizza Planet van.
I did not see it in my first watch, but I did in the second.
Did you find it?
It is when they are in traffic for the toll booth. It is one of the cars in the toll line. The toll is, of course, collected by a troll.
A troll.
Fantastic. From the Underbridge. That's the name of the toll company or whatever.
Right.
Just all those little things. All those little things. I love them. Chase, do you have any more raves?
I do, but I also just want to say John Ratzenberger. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
He was in the film. He was one of the construction
workers. He was. Again, I noticed that not on my first time around, my second time around. Yeah. Because I remember you asked that in the midstream.
Yep, he was in it. Ray. Oh, the just Guinevere.
Oh,
And the whole chase sequence with the Guinevere. And I just loved how he kept talking about how he had rebuilt her and how she was like a hunk of junk. It was the Millennium Falcon of this movie, and she was appropriately decrepit, but reliable. And
she was tarnished enough that she had character.
Right.
She was not just a vehicle.
And I love that instead of drive, it was O for Onward.
Yes.
That was a nice way to connect that.
And her little ride off into Valhalla.
Yes.
Was wonderful.
Valhalla mix. Oh my goodness.
And when the tire blows, so it looks like she's galloping. And all the parking tickets flutter out the window, so it looks like wings. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
So well done.
Yeah.
It was a great sequence. And that whole chase sequence with the pixies.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really when Guinevere came into her own.
Absolutely.
As a character.
Yeah. Yeah. And also when Ian started growing up a little bit.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Big turning point for many characters in that movie.
You got another one, Sketch?
I mean, the last thing I'll say, rave wise, is just the way they depicted the magic in this movie. Like, and I don't just mean like the look of like the explosions and the zappy zaps, but like when they did the deception spell, I thought that was really visually clever. The way that like the quote unquote camera kind of turned around the character, so you could see kind of the mask of the spell. And I said it in Ant-Man, and I'll say it here too. When you do size jokes well, they're just good. And this movie handled the size thing really well. Yeah.
Strong agree there. I have one last rave.
Sure.
The dragon.
Oh yeah, the dragon in the Amazon.
And that the face of the dragon wound up being the face of the mural dragon.
Yeah.
And it kept changing, like gave itself angry eyebrows.
Yes. When it realized it had been tricked, it popped up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't think I had really had a belly laugh in this movie.
Yeah.
Until that moment, and I had started the movie with Elise, and she kind of tapped out on the first watching, and then kind of like, "Are you still watching Onward?" Like,
it's a long movie.
It is a long movie,
18 hours long. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Took us like a week.
Yeah.
To get through it all. But yeah, I think that was the first time I had a good hearty laugh with Onward.
Yeah, as far as especially Pixar movies go, not the funniest of Pixar movies.
No, it was kind of a downer.
But I agree with you. That was one of the best uses of comedy in the movie. That was definitely the joke that stuck the best.
Yeah.
That dragon was really cool too.
It was a really cool dragon. Yeah. It was a wiggling dragon. And a beefy arm on the back.
Should we switch over to a couple rants?
I do.
We
I do
have
have
a couple rants. Now, I'm guessing that you have more than me because you have a lower score than me. So do you want to take one first? Sure.
And I'll just come right out and say this. Watching a half man walk around was disturbing.
Oh, boy.
And it's not a big question, but where was the rest of him?
Mm-hmm.
It was just like sentient legs walking around.
Sure.
And maybe I'm thinking about it too much, but like your legs are controlled by a brain.
Yeah.
Like he was obviously cognizant. They could communicate. They could play like shaving a haircut, drumming on his foot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where was the rest of him?
Yeah.
And also, like, the footsie communication was bizarre. It wasn't just like a thing that they did. They kept coming back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was,
I will
it did not. I don't think it had the desired effect that they were hoping for. Like
I
the
will
half leg person.
I will defend the movie in so much as if your character is nothing except from the belt down,
Right.
the feet are the safest thing to communicate through.
Sure.
This movie certainly deposits that there is an afterlife of sorts.
Right.
That is at least somewhat documented because the father was confident enough to leave this spell that he would be able to be called from
wherever.
And yeah, those legs and those feet, they were experiencing time for a day.
Right.
So was the upper half like when the father finally got to speak to Barley, did he remember the events of the day through his legs?
That's kind of like where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It was so, and maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but it was just such a bizarre choice. It was disturbing at times, especially like when they put the stuffed
body on top of it,
on top of him.
Yeah.
Then it was like Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh, I will say I did laugh then when he came out of the car when the cops pulled him over.
Oh yeah,
I did laugh there too. That was good.
It was like
it was very Weekend at Bernie's. I mean,
it was, and
for all intents and purposes, his upper half was dead.
Yeah,
it was just dead weight flopping around. Yeah,
Weekend at Bernie's is such a great movie.
Yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, it did have a lot of those elements to it when they're walking around with this half a father.
Yeah. And they had him on like on the dragon leash.
They had him on the dragon leash.
And guys, we've all had that like moment. If you have a dog with one of those leashes, like, oh, I could turn this into a grappling hook, but they're not that strong. You couldn't hoist someone up off a ledge with it.
What about half a person?
The belt loop on the pants would break.
It was a very sturdy belt loop.
It was a very sturdy belt loop.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll take a rant here that I think also pokes holes in some of the rationality of the movie, shall we?
Sure.
Way too many convenient off ramps in this movie.
Oh, I thought that when he got on, I was like, what? Why is there nowhere in America is there an off ramp that close to your on ramp?
And it happened 3 times that there was an off ramp exactly where they needed one. I'll give you one movie. I give you one convenient off ramp, and I will suspend my disbelief. You do it 2-3 times. Now we are beyond fantasy.
Right.
At this point.
Right. Oh, I'm so glad you wrote that down because I thought that from the first time he got on the highway all through the movie.
Yep.
That was so unbelievable.
Convenient.
Maybe that was the most unbelievable thing of the movie.
To me, it truly was. The most unbelievable thing of the movie was that there is an interstate system in this land with off ramps that convenient.
Right. And that close together.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
don't buy that part.
Well, I'll follow that up with the most unbelievable thing to me was Guinevere going off road. There's no way that van would have survived going down that road.
I would have a simple fix for that would have been if Colt was tracking them through just a bunch of parts that had fallen off of Guinevere all along the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
The bumper fell off at the beginning, and then she held true until the very, very end.
I was like, no way.
Yeah.
No way in hell that van makes it down that road.
They basically should have been driving in basically like the Tommy Boy car.
Yes.
Just with nothing left of it at the end.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I feel better now.
Yep. No.
What else you got, Sketch?
I'm with you on these. The Pixies. I thought the chase scene with the motorcycles was great. I loved how it took like 12 pixies per motorcycle to drive them all in unison. I liked all that. But what I could not believe was that they just forgot how to fly.
Right.
Okay. I'm with you still, movie. But then one crash and all of a sudden their instincts kick in and they all know how to fly. That I didn't buy. If you gave me all of the pixies hit the ground save one, and that one pixie's like, what? Okay, I'll buy that.
Right.
All the pixies from a motorcycle, these are rough and tumble pixies.
Right.
This is not their first scrape. Okay. At some other point in their life, their wings should have kicked in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah. And we say a rant is anything that takes you out of the movie. And it took me out of the movie.
The Pixies in general kind of took me out of the movie.
The Pixies were used a little. They were funny in a small dose, but then it was like, yeah, we get it. They're Pixie. It's funny because they're not what you expect with Pixies. They're a biker gang Pixie. Okay, we get it.
Ha ha ha. There were too many things going on. There were too many stories. There was the what is Tom Holland's character's name? I keep forgetting. Ian, thank you. Ianard. Right? That's what
Bailey.
Bailey.
I mean, no, is it Bailey?
Yeah, it is.
What is his name?
Barley.
See, I knew it was something in that realm. Barley.
We saw this movie, long-time listeners.
Yeah.
There's the story that he desperately wants to meet his dad.
Yep.
But then there's also the story that he doesn't have any friends. But then there's also the story that he's learning to be a wizard. But then there's also the story that he's like learning to become a man. But then there's also the story that like he's ashamed of his brother. But then there's also the story that he has to the sacrifice storyline that he's becoming the one that's going to take care of Barley now. Then there's the mom story. Then there's the dad story. Then there's the Manicore story. It's like there are no supporting characters. Like everybody even Colt has like the fucking storyline of like he's being a stepfather to these kids who don't respect him. They're still like dealing with the loss of their dad. It's just like, are there no side characters in this movie? Even the fucking Pixies had like a storyline.
Yeah.
So it's just, there were like too many things crammed in, and like the friends show up, but he invites them for birthday cake badly. And then they show up at the end of the movie again.
The friends were the most unnecessary plot point of the movie. We did not need the friends to understand that he was shy and not very good in social situations. And we did not need the friends at the end to say, "Oh, I'll see you at the park," to know that he had overcome a bunch of stuff.
Right.
There was enough in the movie that we got it. We got it, movie. I will agree. There was a lot going on, especially with Ian, and it kind of brings me to my biggest rant of the entire movie is Ian, for the most part, because he is the main of main characters, which, to be fair, is part of why the sacrifice at the end really surprised me on my first watch through. That Ian is not going to be the one that gets to meet his dad. Did not see this coming. But they
I'll agree with that too. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and they put a lot on Ian in this movie, and I don't know if it was the way Tom Holland voice acted him. I mean, I thought he was written decently, other than having a lot of things going on. But he did not seem to have the range of emotions I was expecting from a Pixar movie.
Well, I'll just say Tom Holland has been doing a lot of voice acting lately, but I don't think he's a strong enough voice actor to carry a movie.
Yeah.
And I will say the same thing of Chris Pratt. I know we disagreed on this. I don't think Chris Pratt has done enough voice acting to carry an animated movie on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
I just, and I wrote my rant. My last rant is Tom Holland and Chris Pratt are not voice actors, and it was a mistake to hang the whole movie, particularly on Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Because they both operate. Longtime listeners, this makes for great audio, but you can't see what it like. They're both up here always.
Yeah.
Even when they're supposed to be like down here, they're up here.
Yeah.
They have like one speed, and like it's all like up here. That's it. That's all they got. And also like Chris Pratt is just not like. I never believed that Chris Pratt is a guy that hangs around and plays D&D. This would like Barley would appear to have been a role that was written for Jack Black.
Yeah, he felt very Jack Black.
He felt very Jack Black. And I kept thinking that the whole movie, like, oh man, what a missed opportunity to cast Jack Black in this role.
Yeah, I was fine with Chris Pratt. I think for me it comes down to that the magnifying glass, the spotlight was on Ian and Tom Holland the entire time. It was far much more his story than it was Barley's story. So Barley was more, one-dimensional in that he was this guy, this caricature of a character that we've all seen in different media. But Ian was supposed to be a little more nuanced and a little more relatable to oh, this is something everyone has gone through, and let's see the whole range of. And it was, his sorrow was kind of light sorrow, and his joy was light joy. We didn't have a lot. We didn't stray far from the center of emotion.
I agree.
And typically, Pixar does. Pixar goes for the big joy and the big sad.
Right.
And this movie, it did. For me, I will admit, I'm happy to admit, I got choked up at the sacrifice at the end. I got choked up again at my second viewing of the sacrifice, even knowing it was coming. But certainly didn't have the gravity of certainly like an Up or an Inside Out or a Toy Story or even Incredibles.
Oh, certainly not Incredibles. I'll just come out and say there was something about this movie that didn't feel like a Pixar movie. It felt more like a DreamWorks movie. And I don't even know how to qualify that other than to say that there's a feel to a DreamWorks movie and there's a feel to a Pixar movie. Oh,
there definitely is. And there are certain DreamWorks movies that I often think of as like, oh, this is DreamWorks Pixar movie. Like this is them to that level. Right. And there are certain DreamWorks movies that I would put above this one.
Oh yeah.
As far as hitting those emotional beats. But it's still but when you compare, as long as we're comparing studios, when you compare it to like just a flat Disney, no Pixar, just Disney.
Right.
The Disney ones, in my opinion, have always remained flatter emotionally.
Yep.
And so this was closer to that, but it didn't get as flat as a purely Disney animated feature.
I agree with that. I think a straight Disney animation movie is a lot flatter than a Pixar movie.
Yeah. And I want to do. There are some DreamWorks movies I'd love to do on the show that we should.
Oh, I'm game.
We should.
I love me Open Season.
I don't think I ever saw Open Season. my go-to DreamWorks is without a doubt How to Train Your Dragon. Absolutely love How to Train Your Dragon.
Great. It's great universe.
I would love to do that trilogy. Did you ever see Megamind?
I didn't.
I think we gotta do that one for the show because that is like a hidden gem of a movie.
Is that Steve Carell?
No, it is Will Ferrell and George Clooney and Tina Fey.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
sign me up for that sketch.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Long-time listeners,
I'll watch the shit out of that.
We're gonna have a Megamind episode at some point coming up.
I would love to also do Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Yeah, that's one I haven't seen. So we'll do it. That's the claymation one, right?
It's stop motion, but it's not
stop motion. So yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Wes Anderson.
Do you have any other rants before we move on to the old BQs?
No, I will just reiterate that the most unbelievable thing in the movie, in a world populated with magic, was Guinevere making it down that road.
Yep. She just believed
She did.
in her heart's fire. I was happy Guinevere lived on in Guinevere the Second.
Guinevere the Second, yeah. Not as cool, but
not as cool, but something rather than nothing.
yeah, exactly.
I have one other rant, but I'm going to save it for after BQs because, spoiler alerts for this episode, I have a sketchy theory.
Oh, okay.
And that rant would take me down that rabbit hole. So I'll save it for a moment or two.
All right, Sketch, I'll allow it. I think that brings us to BQs.
BQs, you got big questions. I'll give you a big A.
See what we can do here. You want to go first?
Sure. You got a problem, Shades?
Do I have a problem?
No, that's my big question. Oh. I loved in the movie how the Pixies called them Shades. And I was like, I got to use that. You got a problem, Shades?
Yeah.
Oh, it's on, Shades.
It's on, Shades. Yeah. It's like,
that's it. That's a light one for you.
Sure. Yeah. How does Colt drive the Bronco? How does he even fit in the Bronco?
I assume there's no seat. He's just kind of like squatting in the Bronco.
Bronco is a Minotaur.
And Colt is a centaur.
Centaur, right. Colt Bronco.
And
he drives a Ford Bronco.
He drives a Ford Bronco. And there is one little scene because my wife actually laughed because it's one of those like cute things that makes her laugh when he stamps his little hoof on the gas or the brake. And she laughed and I was like writing down a note. So I was like, what was it? And I backed it up and we watched it again, the little hoof hitting the pedal. But yeah, I would assume there's no seats because when he tries to sit at the dining room table, I mean, he causes a ruckus,
havoc, destroys everything.
Yeah, he is. He's also nude from the waist down at all times.
That he is.
In a way, I don't think any of the other creatures were they all
had pants.
The fawn, which have hooves. I believe they also were wearing pants. So, all right, Colt.
He's just
got some questions.
He's just Donald Ducking it.
He is just out there. The full Colt.
Silver bullet, if you will.
Hardly working.
Oh boy.
Here's a question: how do you tattoo fur?
The Manticore has tattoos all over her arms, all over her body.
Yep.
How do you tattoo fur?
Yep. Because on the second watching, I was like, well, maybe it's just painted on or something. No, those are like clearly supposed to be.
They're tattoos.
And maybe I don't know enough about tattooing furred creatures. Maybe there is a way, but I am unaware.
Longtime listeners, write into the show.
Yeah, share pictures if you have.
Is there a way to
creatures.
Tattoo furred creatures?
Yeah.
There's brand. You can brand them, but those were not brands.
Those were not brands because they were in full color.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, I was under the understanding that, like, the Manticore had more than one quest. But, like, her tats were, like,
seemed to
be primarily this quest.
One quest.
Yes. Unless they're like Maui and they change, because his tattoos like would animate and tell a story. Right. Maybe hers do as well. I guess that's the big question.
I don't have an answer for you on that one, Sketch.
Yeah, that's a mystery.
It is.
That's a true mystery.
Did the Manticore kill the pawn shop broker?
No, she clearly said that she only paralyzed her.
Right, but isn't scorpion venom deadly?
Yeah, but I mean, she's a manticore. Maybe manticore venom is less deadly. She went right for the neck.
Right for the neck. Like right in the jugular.
Yeah. And
no remorse. Like, boom, down.
The woman was on the floor and she did gurgle out, you can't do this.
I'm pretty sure she died, Sketch.
And she very well might have.
I'm pretty sure.
For all we know. There is no version of the story in which I would believe that the Manticore has not murdered in the past. I mean, that creature has without a doubt has blood on her claws.
Right.
Um, and maybe the pawn shop owner
Oh
was
my
just
goodness.
another in her long line of victims. I did like in the movie when she was like, no one ever said you had to take risks to go on an adventure. And they're like, actually, you
just
did.
did.
It's
Just said.
like written on the wall behind
Right.
you.
Yeah. Oh my God.
My last big question is kind of a biggie, just because I was thinking about it. What could you equate this to in our world?
Oh boy.
Like what knowledge has been lost? Now, there's plenty of knowledge that has become outdated and we've surpassed it. But in this movie, magic is real. It's still there, even though people don't
Right.
believe in it.
Right.
And part of the movie, it felt very real and very genuine to me. Like, oh yeah, a world that forgets about its roots and old tech, quote unquote, technologies. But I was thinking, like, but even though it feels very familiar, what is it that we have?
I actually have an answer for this sketch.
That's perfect. That's why I put it in BQ.
And I thought of this while, like, I was like, oh, this is an allegory for the way we used to make movies.
Ooh.
And movies used to be about the art.
Mhm.
They didn't call them. They were pictures.
Mhm.
They didn't make movies. They made pictures. They were like great works of art, and it didn't matter how much they cost or how much they made. It was about giving this experience to the masses. And now movies are just about, opening weekend and how much money they gross.
Yeah.
And how the special effects are more important than the story that you're often telling.
Going for the lazy way. The audience is lazy. They just want the big flash. They don't want to put in the work of following a story and invested in performances.
Exactly.
Movie magic.
Yeah,
which is something that we used to talk about a lot.
Exactly. Like the experience of the movie over the profit, the art over the profit.
Yeah. I like it. That's a good answer.
Thank you.
That is what we can equate it to. That's the knowledge that has been lost, and only a select few still hold on to it. But the masses no longer do.
I think I think it's a rather apropos of it, and I'll just say good on Disney for putting this movie out. I mean, it had already come out, but certainly they could have delayed it.
Mm-hmm.
They could have had it come out in another 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Good on them for putting it out, and shame on some other movie studios who have movies that are ready to drop that they are pushing back.
Yep, just to make the money.
Just to make the money in the box office weekend.
Yep. Yeah. Also kind of misguided. I mean, if anything, this whole thing is going to really change the way we see movies.
It is. I know, I don't want to get political here, but this is not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, we're in it for a little while here.
Or we're recording as of Tuesday, April 14th.
Hello.
This is going to go on for a while. I don't think we'll be back to normal by April 30th or May 15th or whatever people are saying.
Okay, so if this is Tuesday, April 14th, then that means by the time this episode comes out, hey, happy birthday, Tim Hoshi.
Yay!
Because if you're listening to it the weekend this dropped, then your birthday just passed.
Happy birthday!
And happy birthday, friend of the pod, Tim Hoshi, host of Hidden Histories.
Hidden Histories,
another great podcast about real worlds. Ours is about fake worlds.
Fake worlds.
Yeah. So So just to wrap up that thought, it does seem silly and archaic to hold on to. I'm talking about the studios here.
Right.
Hold on to. Well, we'll just have everything when everything goes back to normal. We'll just launch everything the way they've always been launched. There's going to be a new normal.
Yeah.
Things are not going to exactly go back the way they were. And a lot of people now are discovering things that they've probably been hesitant to do. And I've been thinking of, some of the older generation who is very hesitant to buy things online or order things
Oh,
online.
absolutely.
And now that they have to, it's kind of like, oh,
right.
well, this wasn't that bad. This wasn't that scary. We can continue doing this.
The world has been artificially stagnant in a lot of regards, just because there is a contingent of our population that has refused to adapt to certain things, and it's going to happen now.
Just like in Onward.
Exactly. I wore this shirt for Onward today sketch. I don't know if you can see it. It's my Sunnydale High.
Oh,
Hellmouth shirt.
Nice.
I felt it went along with Onward and also the current state of affairs.
Yeah. The Hellmouth. Yeah. And your heart's fire.
And my heart's fire. Yep.
Do you have any more big questions before we put on our tinfoil hats and journey down the rabbit hole of a sketchy theory?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm out of BQs and I am excited. Let me
listeners,
bust out my tinfoil hat here.
Listeners, this started as a rant. But then here's the thing. Too many connections lined up.
Uh-oh.
When I make a sketchy theory, no. Reverse that. When a sketchy theory comes to me, okay, it cannot be based purely on one instance in a movie or a property. There has to be at least two things that line up before I start going down the rabbit hole. And in this movie, I think you'll find an alarming situation is happening. And this is the scariest part. It lines up with my sketchy theory of the Incredibles universe, meaning that I officially have my own Pixar theory. Now, if you remember in the Incredibles episode, we talked about how I believe the true villain in the Incredibles universe is the government, which is basically placating the masses and making them forget about the powered individuals. Well, I think the same thing is happening in this movie. Because originally my rant was, I don't believe that a world would just forget about magic when we've seen spells that aren't replicated with technology. There are certain things that he does that technology has not replicated.
Right.
Okay. So it got me thinking. Why would everybody actively forget about
magic?
Something has to be working against magic. And I landed upon the government, because the government, longtime listeners, is the entity in Onward that is tearing down all of the old historical magical sites, which are just leveling them to the ground, erasing the history from the people, because the history is there. The history of magic is there.
It is.
But
that's been posited.
That alone, that's a crazy guy in a box corner saying that on a soapbox on the corner. Okay, you need something more tangible. And then I thought about the Manticore. Okay, how can you have an entity such as the Manticore that exists in this world, who was there for adventurers and magic? She remembers sending people on quests. She knows that magic exists. How do you still have the population at large deny the existence, or at least the power of magic? The answer is the government.
This was a rant for me that I put aside. Was how old is the Manticore?
The Manticore apparently is very old. Yes.
What is the timeline for this?
Yes. She apparently is a timeless creature. Because she remembers a time
the world of magic.
Yes, she does. But
she runs a restaurant.
She is figuratively declawed. Her potency in society is taken away, and she's turned into a sham of herself. And what leads her to this declawing? tax problems.
Oh, tax problems. That's right. Yes.
She sells her mystical sword because she runs into tax problems. And I guarantee you, if we pull up the tax documents of the Manticore Tavern, we will see fabricated information, we will see faulty claims, and we will see an attack on a magical being. I deposit a world in which the government is so afraid of magic and magic users that rather than just deny its existence, because that can be fought easily, they've relegated it to the world of myth and children's games. So anyone would just laugh it off. But
that's good sketch.
Here's what I want for the sequel. I want to find out that the quests of yore is actually a secret way of communicating for an underground magical resistance. They know the truth. And by spreading the knowledge through the game, we're going to bring magic back to the people.
I love it.
Now it deposits the question. I don't have enough here. So I'm not going to attack him and his character, but it does deposit the question that Colt, as an agent of the government, is he a plant?
He's the enemy
in the Lightfoot house, because Will Lightfoot was dabbling in magic. Is he a plant making sure the children do not develop magic? I don't know. It's not my place to make those accusations, but I won't say nay either. That's the sketchy theory.
I see what you did there.
The government.
That's one hell of a theory sketch.
The government is hiding the magic.
The government. Which government sketch?
The government of New Mushroom Town.
New Mushroom Town?
Yeah. And I do not know when they're destroying these old sites. I mean, the question is, does the government officials, do they believe in the magic? Are they just trying to tear down the image to not give people the idea? Or are they robbing these places of their artifacts and hoarding the magic for themselves? I don't know.
I guess that's the question.
That's the question.
Is there an Indiana Jones style warehouse somewhere where they're stashing all of these mystical objects?
I would not be surprised. And I say that's the sequel.
Well,
we find the underground magical beings and they take the fight to the government.
Well, it's a Pixar movie, so in 14 years we'll find out.
And I mean, look at how easy it was to get an undocumented weapon at a pawn shop.
That's true. Yeah,
they had to go and get that $10, make it $10,000 sword.
Yeah, just murder her.
Yeah,
and take it.
She did pay though. And a little extra for her trouble. And I love how on the way out she was like, "It's a lovely store here," and she's sugarcoating everything, but she still flips the sign from open to close. Because she's still a little malicious there.
Yep. Right. Yep. No one's gonna come to help you. Oh my goodness.
That's my sketchy theory, and it lines up with my Incredibles theory. And as we tackle other Pixar movies, I might see that this rabbit hole goes down even further. I'll keep you all posted. Yeah.
I mean, just off the top of my head, certainly that jives with WALL-E.
Oh yeah. Certainly.
The government.
Yeah. There are harder movies to pin it on, like A Bug's Life would be a little difficult. Ratatouille, one of my personal favorites, would also be a little difficult. But you know what? I'm going to put in the time.
Okay.
I'm going to put in the time.
I look forward to exploring this theory more, Sketch.
Yes. Yep. Because we all know the Pixar theory. This is my Pixar theory.
There you go.
Oh, and guys, if you just want the exclamation point on this theory, it's been staring us in the face since the original Toy Story. Because in the Pixar opening, the Pixar little stinger at the beginning, the lamp, the shining light that is illuminating all, comes into frame and crushes what letter? The most individual letter of all, the I. And after murdering the individuality out of the word Pixar, it stares at the audience as if to say, message received.
Sketch, I think you've been hitting the Kool-Aid a little too hard, but we'll see how this. we will see how this plays out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. If I go missing, you guys know it was Big Pixar.
It's the mouse.
It was Big Lamp.
I think that brings us to, at this point, Sketch. Shades and Sketch recommendations. We did our best with that.
A quarantine edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Shades, what are you going to recommend for this episode of
you
Geeking
put me on
Out
the
with
spot.
Shades and Sketch? Did you not have something prepared? I'll go with mine.
Yeah. Go with yours.
Okay. My recommendation is something I just mentioned in midstream, but I'm getting really into it. Actually, maybe that's why I'm getting into the conspiracy theories. I'm rewatching Gravity Falls with Doodle.
Sure.
And here's what I didn't realize. I never finished Gravity Falls. So I think it was in that time where my cable provider cut a bunch of channels from me. So I only ever saw season 1 in its entirety and some of season 2, because I am in the midst of season 2 right now of Gravity Falls, and bombshells have been dropped. The story has become a continuous story of mystery and conspiracies, and it has become more self-aware of itself as a story and as a cultural experience. And I am enjoying the shit out of it. So I highly recommend checking out Gravity Falls. There's only 3 seasons. I didn't even know there was a third season.
I didn't know there was a third season.
So I'm anxious to finish it. But you could find it on Disney Plus, but I'm sure you could find it other places too, you tech savvy internet people. But Gravity Falls is my recommendation for this episode.
Cool. All right, Sketch. I am just having a ball, playing my way through this. So I am going to recommend Star Trek Online, celebrating its 10th anniversary. It was one of the original MMOs to launch, and oh my goodness, it's just everything that I've ever wanted out of life.
Out of life. You can't get a better recommendation than that.
It is everything that I've ever wanted out of life. It is like the perfect. If you are a Trekkie, it is the quintessential experience of working your way through a career in Starfleet. And just the way that it sends you on missions and the way you acquire ships, and just the act of exploring the galaxy of Star Trek and going to places like Deep Space Nine and Deep Space 5 and exploring things from across the J.J. Abrams movies and the original series and TNG. Going to the Delta Quadrant, the Gamma Quadrant, and just the act of playing an MMO that's based around exploration and cultivation of relationships and spreading the message of the Federation. And it's not without its foes where you'll have to engage in battles. But just wow, what a well-crafted game. Sketch, no secret, you and I played DC Universe Online.
Mm-hmm.
For a stretch, and it was clunky and wonky, and they kept changing it on us to the point where it wasn't fun to play anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And this
I
is
remember
the complete opposite experience. Every time they do a patch, it's so fun. For April Fools, I kid you not, longtime listeners, I was listening to, they replaced all the sound effects in the game. When you fired phasers, you heard pew 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 pew, and when you engaged warp drive, it just went vroom. And I have not laughed so hard in so long. So just a glowing recommendation, a fun time. It's free to play on Steam, on Xbox, and on PlayStation 4. Just a really fun experience, and I highly recommend it.
And it's all you could ever want in life, I believe.
It's all I could ever want in life. I have been playing it since March 21st. I'm already a fleet admiral, and it just keeps spiraling and adding new campaigns, and I'm just tickled all over that I get to live in the Star Trek universe.
Great time to play some video games.
It is.
And all those people who were demonizing video games, they're kind of quiet right now.
Yes, they are.
Because who would have thunk it?
Who would have?
Video games could quite literally save the world right now.
These guys.
Yep, it is. It's a great time to be playing video games, listening to a podcast.
Sketch, you gonna play some Star Trek Online?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. You said you can get it on Steam?
You can get it on Steam. You can get it on PS4.
Okay. Star Trek on.
I don't know that it's cross-platform between like Steam and PS4.
What do you play it on?
I play it on PS4.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I do not have a gaming computer.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. Gravity Falls and the Star Trek Online game.
There you go.
Those are two great recommendations for your for your quarantine, your social distancing, and your foreseeable future. There you go.
There you go. And shout out to all of our new patron subscribers. Thank you so much for
thanks guys
for helping us keep the lights on in the GoCo. And
especially now because it's a tough time for a lot of people. So
it is
super appreciated.
It is, yes, very much so. We are just 9 new subscribers away from our Patreon exclusive Cats episode.
Cats.
Can't wait, cut. Sketch. The butthole cut. Release the butthole cut.
Not wait for that. Little T Swift, right? She's in that. She's one of the cats. Rebel
Taylor
Wilson
Swift,
is a
Wilson,
cat.
James Corden.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Quite a cast.
A lot of people in this that probably don't want people to know they're in it.
Probably not.
A couple more Patreon subscribers and we'll tell you everyone who's in it.
Oh, yes, we will. And long-time listeners, thanks so much for making us part of your COVID-19 survival kit. We're going to be right here with you, podding along through this.
Be right with you at a socially appropriate distance.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly. We will remain under our Mandalorian helmets.
Yes, of course.
And we'll see you right back here.
Well, wait, Shades.
Going to take anything?
Are you going to take anything from Onward?
Well, I'm going to take Guinevere too.
I figured. I'm going to do it. Figured. Yeah.
That was a sweet
spoiler. Yeah.
Nothing like a spoiler on a van. Sketch.
And it had a very Back to the Future exit in the movie as well.
Oh, that made me think as well. Like, it reminded me when they showed up with the Pixies a couple times, they had the Back to the Future like stinger in there.
Oh yeah, you said that.
And I went back and rewound it. It was in there a lot. I don't know what that's about, but it did have the Guinevere 2 did have a very Back to the Future exit.
Yes, where they're going, they don't need no roads. Yeah, I am going to take a copy of Quests of Lore, the game guide.
There you go.
Learn how to play a little bit, and also find any secret hidden messages for our brothers in the Resistance. I'm with you, my friends.
Okay.
My heart's fire burns.
Something about focus.
So, guys, I guess that just means
Onward!
We'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time.
If you'd like to take a more active role in supporting Geeking Out, visit us at patreon.com/shadesansketch.
Our website is shows.acast.com/geekingout.
You can email the show at gowithshadesandsketch@gmail.com or contact us through Facebook or Twitter.
Geeking Out is a production of Tree Cave Creative, LLC. All rights reserved, 2020.
Do I have anything to click from over here?
No, you do not.